You see this? This is a calendar, and you might not be able to tell, but it's not February 17th yet. So why do I have this? So Nintendo started shipping out the Virtual Boy units a little bit earlier than expected, but I only have the hardware, like Nintendo has not made the Virtual Boy games available yet. However, even though you can play the Virtual Boy games themselves, this is still a pretty cool piece of hardware already, and I want to talk about it, but before that, if you're curious, here's a little bit of an unboxing experience. Before we start this, just keep in mind I recorded this in my living room, the acoustics are a little bit weird, so it's not the same quality as my regular videos, but here we go. So here we have the Virtual Boy for the Nintendo Switch 2, and let's just go ahead and take a look at what is inside this box. So we pull this tag over here, if I can do it, which, okay, there we go. Then just open this up. I want to open this like respectfully, but okay, geez. All right, there we go. So now it's open, and can we just like pull this out? Oh, okay. There's this paper, cardboard things on the sides that kind of hold it in place, I suppose. And just set those down here. And then we take it out. There's the start of the show. And there's more cardboard, some paper, and oh wow, this feels sturdier than I was expecting. So this is the stand for it, and it feels pretty good. So I'll just set that down. Anything else in here? What is this? Huh. I don't know what this is. This is like some kind of adapter. It says Nintendo Switch. Interesting. We might need that, so I'm gonna keep it on here. So now we have the Virtual Boy itself, and we can just take all this plastic wrapping off here. I might need to read the instructions on this. I feel a little confused by what I'm looking at right now. That might be easier, yeah. So that comes out, and I'll say I want to put it on the stand, which I think I do, because I don't see how else I'm gonna play this. Oh, okay. It feels decently sturdy. And I read something about this, but I actually have no idea how to do this. Oh, this is so I can adjust the angle? I do not know what I'm doing, I'm gonna be real with you. Oh, I see, so this black piece, I just realized. So this is for the Nintendo Switch, and it comes pre-applied to the Nintendo Switch 2 one here. So, oh, this is the slot. I'm just noticing, this is the slot, like at the bottom where the consoles will slot into. So you have the piece down here for the Switch 2, and you can like swap this out. I think you need to remove these screws to take out this piece, and then you can use this one if you have the original Switch one. So there's that. You got the two slots there for this. Let me just push this out of the frame. I still don't know how to put this in here though, and I just watched someone mention it in the video too. Okay, so after a small scare, I managed to figure out what I was doing wrong, and so the stand is now in place. We can insert this here, and now it's fixed in there. This is quite low, so I think this is where I would adjust this so it fits me a bit better. And now it seems usable. So I have the Switch 2 right here, and I am going to try and open this up if I can figure out how to do it. Okay, so you just pry it open like that. I was a little worried about breaking it, and then you slot it in here, and it just goes all the way in, and then you can close this, and now the console is in there. Now, of course, I can't really turn this on because the app for the Virtual Boy is not available yet, and this is gonna be really weird if I turn it on just looking at a normal screen. You want to open the VR games first and then put it in here. But yeah, that's pretty much how it works. I was a little worried there for a second, but yeah, pretty cool. One thing I forgot to do during that unboxing was remove the red lens that makes the Virtual Boy games red. You're gonna have to do that if you already have it and you want to play non-Virtual Boy games that use VR, so keep that in mind. But so, if the Virtual Boy games aren't available yet, what is this accessory good for? Well, you may remember that a few years ago Nintendo released this, the Labo VR headset. And this came with its own game and everything, and it was a whole thing. But to go along with this, Nintendo also made updates to a bunch of their games to use some sort of VR support on the Switch 1. And it was pretty interesting, you know, like you could play the entirety of Breath of the Wild in VR if you wanted to get motion sick. There are like special missions in Super Mario Odyssey and Captain Toad, so it was a pretty cool idea. But like I said, it was flawed because the Switch 1 has a 720p screen, and you have to hold this up to your face, and it's a little bit clunky. So like having such a low resolution screen, and especially in Breath of the Wild, the frame rate was also not super smooth. So putting that up to your face and trying to play like a VR game that way, and especially using the motion controls at the same time, I don't usually get motion sick while I'm doing pretty much anything, but yeah, Breath of the Wild with this thing was not a fun experience. But one cool thing about the Virtual Boy is that it's not just for the Switch 1, it works with both the Switch 1 and the Switch 2. And a lot of the games I just mentioned actually got updated when the Switch 2 came out to support higher resolutions and frame rates. You know, the Zelda Breath of the Wild got the Switch 2 edition with the higher resolution and 60 frames per second. Super Mario Odyssey also got a resolution upgrade, and so did Captain Toad. So all of these games run better on the Switch 2. And interestingly, the VR modes also got upgraded. So what is it like to play those games now on the Switch 2 with a higher resolution and better frame rate? And honestly, it's pretty cool. I tried these for a bit last night. I've only had this thing for less than a day, so I haven't done super extensive testing, but it is pretty noticeable how much better the VR experience is with the Switch 2 and the Virtual Boy. It works a lot better, it looks a lot sharper. It's still not great, don't get me wrong, this is not some great VR experience. It's still very low resolution compared to the main games by themselves, because you gotta keep in mind that these are just like zoom lenses, and the screen of the Switch 2 is basically being split in half and showing the entire game in these circles that the lenses zoom into to create the VR effect. So like you're taking a 1080p screen and only using like half of it to try and recreate the experience. And so like yeah, the resolution is also always going to be way lower than just playing on the Switch 2 by itself. But the Switch 1 only had a 720p screen, so it was much worse in that regard. So I can't record footage of the VR mode, but I took some screenshots of like Breath of the Wild, Captain Toad, and Super Mario Odyssey, so you can see some of the comparisons here and how much better it looks on the Switch 2 compared to the Switch 1. Do keep in mind that, you know, screenshots still have compression, so neither of these images is like fully representative of the quality of the experiences, but you get an idea. Overall though, I did have a much better time playing on the Virtual Boy compared to the Switch 1 with the Labo VR headset. And I think that's not just about the quality. Yes, everything looks way sharper here, like it's much better. You see it in every game. And Breath of the Wild, I would say, is the biggest example because it's like the most detailed game of the bunch. Like there's a lot going on in this world, a lot of stuff. Super Mario Odyssey and Captain Toad, you know, those levels that they have, they're specifically designed missions. All the UI elements are pretty big, so like it works fine already on the Switch 1. It's just even better on the Switch 2. But I think another benefit, and the reason why I got so motion sick with Breath of the Wild back on the Switch 1 with the Labo VR headset is actually because you still use the motion controls. And so when you're moving in real life to represent movements inside of a game, you really need the frame rate and the resolution to be much higher, because your eyes, the way they perceive what's going on in front of you, if you're moving and things don't move as smoothly as they would in real life, that's going to make you like motion sick. That's why it was so bad. And here with the Virtual Boy, this is better and worse, because the Virtual Boy is static, it's always still. So the motion sickness that you get from moving around yourself, that doesn't happen anymore. But on the flip side, I realized that means there's actually no motion controls here, because when you play in VR mode in these games, both Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey, the camera controls use the gyroscope, yes, but they use the gyroscope inside the console itself. So when you use the Virtual Boy headset, there's no way to have the controllers attached to the console like you did in the Labo VR headset. So there's no motion controls. The motion controls are all on the console itself. You have to move the VR headset itself, the Virtual Boy, in order to get motion controls working. So that is not great. Breath of the Wild is still playable, of course, if you can just use the analog sticks to aim. But Super Mario Odyssey, if you want to play those VR missions, they're just not playable at all, because you need to look around with the gyroscope, and for that you need to move the Virtual Boy around. It's interesting though, because Nintendo also sells a cardboard model of the Virtual Boy accessory, and that is very much just the Labo VR thing, but just, you know, pre-assembled out of the box. And so with that, you actually get to use all the motion controls as you would with this. Like, it's exactly the same thing. You insert the console, you put the Joy-Con on the side, and you play like that. So it's interesting that there's actually an advantage to the cardboard model. I didn't buy that one because, you know, I figured the Virtual Boy having the entire accessory was just a better experience. But yeah, like, if you want to have like full control over the games that use motion controls in VR, you need this version, because the static stationary version that replicates the Virtual Boy hardware is not going to be usable for the motion controls. But even outside of like the upgrades that the Virtual Boy makes, what this made me realize, it's been a long time since I played with the Labo VR headset, and I was playing here with the Virtual Boy, and I realized that I actually can't fully enjoy these games, and now I'm a little bit worried about the Virtual Boy games themselves, because the thing is, when I look through the lenses, I try to move my face up and down a little bit, and I can't get the angle to be correct. Like, no matter what I do, the image is never in focus, and I tried both with the Switch 1 and the Switch 2. The image is never fully in focus, like I can't get focus on the entire screen. And more importantly, like, if I make it so that the focus is on the center of the screen, which is like the most comfortable experience, I actually don't have visibility into the corners of the screens. Like in Breath of the Wild, I couldn't see my heart counts. Like, they're there if you look at the screenshots, like the entire heart count is there, but I couldn't see them because they just got cut off at the edges of my line of sight. And the same goes for like the sensor on the bottom left or right, sorry, the bottom right of Breath of the Wild. I couldn't see that. So like, maybe it's just my eyes. I've had problems with like these kinds of glasses and VR stuff before, so maybe my eyes aren't like the most suitable for this and I would need some adjustment, which there is none with the Virtual Boy. Like, you can't really adjust anything aside from just moving yourself or the headset. There's like no dials or anything to make it better. So for myself, this doesn't seem like it's going to be a very usable experience, which kind of sucks a little bit. I hope I can still play the Virtual Boy games, you know, well enough to just experience them. But yeah, that part sucks a little bit. I should also mention that maybe I'm a little too tall for this, because using the Virtual Boy, for me, like my wife took this picture of me, like you can tell how much I am like bending over, like how I have to stretch so weirdly in order to line myself up with the Virtual Boy on my dining table. To play more comfortably, I actually had to get just like a box and put the Virtual Boy on top of the box. So yeah, that is a bit of a problem. Maybe I'm too tall. Like the Virtual Boy, you can tilt it like back and forth, but it doesn't go super far to tilt upwards. So like even tilting it all the way, I'm not super comfortable. playing the Virtual Boy on just my normal table. I needed an extra step to make it a little bit higher. That might be the case for you too. But yeah, those are just some early impressions I have with the Virtual Boy. Since I got it early, I really wanted to talk about it. I also wanted to talk about Mario Tennis Fever, but I guess that will have to wait a little bit. I will be streaming Mario Tennis Fever tonight though, so if you'd like to see more of that game, come join me. But yeah, that's all for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!